Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing you all the news headlines today in the world of Everton. So let's get straight into it. Start with the headline news, and it's from Florian Plettenberg, and he's reported that Everton have had a 25 million euro bid plus add-ons rejected by Barcelona for VITOR ROQUE. This came this morning. This broke quite early this morning, that news, and he also reported that Barcelona are holding out for 30 to 35 million euros for the 19-year-old striker. I broke this news yesterday. I broke this initial interest yesterday regarding VITOR ROQUE. He's a young striker. He seems to have fallen a little bit out of favour at Barcelona this season. He only scored 2 goals in 14 matches. And as I said yesterday, I compared it to a very similar situation to what Jesper Lindstrom had at Napoli last season. I do feel like they are very similar players in that sense. So it is interesting that we have bid this, considering that the Dominic Calvert-Lewin saga hasn't been resolved yet. We haven't got an official answer on whether he's going to be signing his contract or whether he's going to be leaving the club, etc. So I do think it's a little bit interesting that this bid has come, whether whether us as Evertonians don't know something and a player is going to be leaving in the striker position. It remains to be seen. But Everton are still currently in negotiations with Deco, who is the sporting director at Barcelona. And as I said before, the Catalan giants are holding out for 30 to 35 million for the striker. So I think if we are to bid in again, I don't think I'd like to see anything over 30 million. He's relatively unproven. Um, but that being said, he is a player with a lot of potential. He fits this typical type of player that we've been going for in this window, especially the likes of Jesper Lindstrom, Jake O'Brien, Iliman and Jai. They're quite young players, players with a high ceiling, players with a bright future. So I think it's definitely the right profile of player that we're going for. So I think that's definitely a positive. I think it's a decent profile and a decent player that we should be looking at. But as I said before, I probably wouldn't like to see us go over 30 million euros in a potential deal with Barcelona, which is something they are holding out for. So again, I say it a lot, but this is there's a lot of speculation around this one. We've got to see how it develops if we put in another bid. Will Barcelona accept it? But yeah, let's keep an eye on this one in the coming weeks and see if we can get something over the line before the end of the transfer window. But onto another incoming. The Athletic have reported this morning that Everton have inquired about Scott McTominay of Manchester United, with Brentford, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, and Fulham also all interested in the Scottish midfielder. This for me, I think, is quite a positive link. I know people have a lot of preconceptions with Scott McTominay and what kind of player he is. We got your thoughts as well on the Twitter poll earlier this afternoon, and your thoughts on McTominay were 80% in favour, 9% unsure, and 11% were against Scott McTominay signing for Everton. So I think a lot of Evertonians would like to see him play in the Royal Blue of Everton. He's a player that's had many good seasons for Manchester United. He always seems to crop up with a goal when Manchester United, desperately need it. So I think that's definitely a player that we can utilise. And we've seen it so many times with Everton seasons where we've not seen a lot of goals coming from midfield. So I think it would be positive to have a player like Scott McTominay because he does contribute in that area of the pitch, but also he is very good on the ball. He's got a great range of passing. So I think Scott McTominay, if he was to sign for Everton, I think it would be really positive, and it will be a really positive signing. Whether we can get a deal done, I know Manchester United will probably be holding out for a fee, quite a large sum of money. So if we do manage to get this over the line, it has to be a sensible fee for the club, and maybe a potential loan deal, as we saw yesterday with Calvin Phillips. That's a loan deal being reported with Manchester City. So it does beg the question. It has to be the right deal for Everton. It has to be right structured, and obviously we all know our financial situation and we all know our financial predicaments in the moment. So it has to be with the right structure. But for me, I'm firmly with you guys in the 80%. I'm firmly in agreement that Scott McTominay will be a good addition to Everton, and I think it will be a positive sign. And as I said before, it is similar to these profile of player that we have been signing. You look at Lindstrom and Dye, Jake O'Brien. Scott McTominay is not old. He's still a young player relatively in terms of the Premier League. You look at Ashley Young on our books, for example, he's nearly 40 now. So in the context of the Premier League, Scott McTominay is still relatively young. So I think it would be a very good transfer for Everton if we can get it over the line. And obviously if it is a sensible fee, but that's one to keep an eye out on as well. As well, another incoming, Mark Douglas has reported that Everton do remain interested in Armando Broja of Chelsea. With the 22-year-old Albanian international, he is keen on a move to Everton if given the opportunity. I think for me, this one that isn't seem to be going away, is it? It's one that does seem to be swirling around a lot. I think Everton have held a long-term interest in Armando Broja, and I have read somewhere as well this afternoon that he is in talks with other clubs. He is in talks with Stuttgart. So if that was to materialise, then obviously he wouldn't be an Everton player. But I think as I said, as I've said in recent weeks in many different videos, I do think it pins a lot on the Dominic Calvert-Lewin saga. I do think it pins on that situation and whether he leaves the club or even if Beto leaves the club, for example, do think it largely pins on that. But for me, that the profile of Armando Broja is similar to Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the sense that he's quite powerful. He's powerful in his running. He's quick. He is decent in the air. I don't think he is as good as Calvert-Lewin in the air, but I would personally like to see Armando Broja join Everton, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin was to leave. But as I said before, it does largely pin any strikers that are coming in. It does largely pin on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. This saga being either resolved and he signs his contract or he is to leave the club this summer. I think it does largely pin on that, but one to keep an eye on definitely. And if we can try and maybe get a loan deal over the line before the end of the transfer window, that again would be one to keep an eye on. But finally, one more incoming for the day, and it's some news from the academy. And Everton have completed the signing of Will Tarman from Burton Albion, with the 18-year-old joining on a 3-year contract from the Midlands side. And I've been reading some reviews from Burton Albion fans, especially in the comments of the announcement that he was leaving the club to join Everton, and they said that they were really impressed with what they'd seen. He's a player. He's quite a big centre half. He's a big player. He's a big unit. So he will fit in very well with Jake O'Brien and Jared Branthwaite in that sense. But he has high potential, and they have wished him very well, and they say it's a great move for him, and he deserves it because the potential that he has is very high. But let's see. I imagine he'll be going straight into the academy and he'll be playing his trade there. But let's see if he follows in the footsteps of a John Stones, a Jared Branthwaite, joining from a lower league club and then making the way all the way up to the first team and making us a lot of money in the process. But let's see. Fingers crossed for the lad, and you've got to wish him all the best, and let's get behind him now. But that is all for today's news. Make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments about the potential incomings of VITOR. Are you happy that the bid got rejected? Would you like to see us put in another bid for the Barcelona striker? McTominay, obviously, as I said before, 80% of you are much in favour of McTominay joining the club. And also, as well, Armando Broja. It's a name that doesn't seem to be going away very often. So let me know your thoughts on them 3 incomings and also the incoming in the academy this afternoon. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.